O 1993. Have you seen The Pacific or Band of Brothers? If so, what do you think of them? I haven't seen The Pacific, but I have seen Band of Brothers, and I thought it was tremendous. What I liked about Band of Brothers is how they separated each kind of episode into a story about a person. You had the guy who went temporarily blind. You had the guy who was left in the left kind of almost for dead in Nazi occupied areas. He was left in a shed and abandoned by his teammates by accident, and he had to kind of just camp out in a shed amongst German soldiers. That was a great episode. The medic episode was particularly good. Yeah, it was good. It was a lot more action packed than I thought it was going to be, and I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend it to anyone. What's your favourite war movie? My favourite war movie is probably Brotherhood, which is a Korean war movie about 1994, about two brothers who go into the war, and it's about how each of them get affected by war in a different way. One of them kind of stays in his kind of innocent outlook, and the other one becomes corrupted by war and greed and murder. It's very interesting. That's Brotherhood. It's also called, it might be called Brotherhood of War in some countries as well. It's a Korean movie. I really recommend you check that out. But I mean, there's other good war. I really like war movies. Deer Hunter. Other ones I'd recommended. Deer Hunter. I wasn't the biggest fan of Apocalypse Now, actually, as much as most people. Jarhead, The Hurt Locker, though I have issues with The Hurt Locker. What do you think is the most underrated? What movie do you think is the most underrated? I don't know if you mean war movies here. I'm not sure, but if you do mean war movies, that's Brotherhood, because nobody's seen it. Underrated movies in general. Well, it depends. I think you can separate underrated into different categories, because it can be underrated critically, and it can be underrated commercially. Now, a movie that was critically well received but underrated in terms of the crowd just not getting to them would be Sideways, which is a film in 2004 about this guy who's getting married and he goes on a wine tasting trip. What other movies are underrated? Underrated movies. David Fincher's Panic Room, I think, was harshly met. I think that's a lot better than most people give it credit for. The Game, also by David Fincher. Grosse Point Blank, a John Cusack movie, quite underrated. Man on the Moon, severely underrated. I think, but most of my movies that I think are underrated are ones that were quite critically, not so well received. Things like Anchorman, I think, is underrated as a comedy. One of the movies, The Whackness, is underrated. So yeah, there's a few there. Shattered Glass, very underrated. Both in terms of critical and, these mix between critical and commercial success. Hey Andy, I have looked but I cannot find your top 5 actors in their prime. Prime role? So whether you mean prime as in, because when you say in their prime, you kind of immediately think of, this is Mana Mashorno, I do apologise. When you see them in their prime, when you say prime, you think things like Al Pacino and stuff like that, and actors who are older now. But prime role makes me think when they're at their best, when they're at their absolute best role. Well, I think as I say, Bill Murray. I love Bill Murray when he does his kind of subtle performances. I think Peter Sarsgaard, given the right role, is tremendous. Other prime roles. I mean, you've got to look at Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. John C. Reilly in Magnolia is terrific. If you've only seen John C. Reilly in comedies, check him out in Magnolia. He's tremendous. Probably the best character in that film, and there's a lot of good characters in that film. Prime roles. If we're talking older as well, Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon is still one of the best performances I've ever seen, and I do prefer Al Pacino to Robert De Niro. I like Robert De Niro a lot, and actually I'd go as far as saying I prefer Jack Nicholson to Robert De Niro. But Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon I thought was just one of the best roles of anybody's career. I'm sorry if I didn't answer that correctly. I was a bit mixed to what you meant. It wasn't the way you said it, it was just the way I perceived it. If I got it wrong, please let me know. Extra Review says, what are your views on Eminem? I like Eminem. I don't like him as much to know any of the album tracks or anything that's not a single, but I'm not cynical towards him, you know, so what? He's a white guy doing rap, but he does it well. And if you can do it well, you can do anything you like. And I think his lyrics are very good in general. I like the way he mixes between, you know, the Slim Shady character and the Marshall guy, and the more subtle and downbeat, like Cleaning Out Your Closet, Stan, In the Moment, all those kind of Sing for the Moment, all those kind of things, and then does, you know, The Way I Am and all that kind of stuff, and My Name Is, and, you know, Conscience and stuff like that. And the way he mixes between the two, I say more power to him, to be fair. I think he's quite good. I've got his best of. I haven't got his singles or anything, but yeah, I quite like a lot of his songs. Okay, Martin Claire 1 asks, as an avid gamer, what are your top 10 games of all time? I've actually posted this on the thingy before. I haven't looked to see what the absolute list is, so this is not in order. This is just 10 games I like a lot. Skate 2, SmackDown vs Raw 2009, Mario Kart 64, GoldenEye, Call of Duty series, GTA 4, Command & Conquer Red Alert 2, WWF No Mercy, and Donkey Kong Country. And also number 1 would be Zelda Ocarina of Time, but that's the only one. That's the only one I know would be number 1. Okay, so that's all the questions. I'm sorry if I didn't answer them brilliantly. I tried my best. I hope this has been interesting, and thank you for the questions. Please continue to send more. I really enjoyed doing this actually and compiling them. I got a much better response as I expected, so that was just thank you so much. And please continue to send me in some questions. Take it easy. Again, anything you want to ask, and you can ask it here now if you want. At the bottom of this one, you can go back to the old one. It doesn't matter. I'll chat both. Take care.